Hello and welcome to the Cutie Art Crusaders, episode 52 for June 25th, 2013. I'm back, guys, and no better timing than for our 1-year anniversary. My name is Rainbow Plasma. I'm the organizer and editor of this podcast, and today I'm joined by
Berna1, and I'm the organizer, special guests and stuff, and I also do editing.
Okay.
And I'm been here forever.
Okay.
Okay. I'm Flutter Guy 317, and I'm the art organizer on the podcast.
Why is everyone using organizer?
I am the Pinky Dash, and I am the question organizer for this podcast.
Yes.
Oh, man, oh, man.
1 year, guys.
1 year of the Cutie Art Crusaders.
Wow.
So that is a pretty incredible thing to have done.
Yes.
You know, it's something that we really wanted to celebrate. So we're not going to spend a lot of time because we want to do something special here. So we're going to quickly go right into it here. So let me quickly explain what we're going to be doing, and then we can get right into it. So what we're doing this week is we thought it would be an interesting idea to do kind of like our own reflections. So this week we're doing our own stuff, talking about us and the Cutie Art Crusaders, and then next week we're working on like fan stuff. So, Flutter Guy, you actually had the great suggestion of what we're doing this week. So do you want to talk a little bit about what we're doing?
Sure. Basically, I suggested a couple of weeks ago for us to do some sort of like a self-interview, because we get to interview awesome artists all the time, and it's absolutely amazing. But we haven't actually had a chance to interview each of us, like internally. So we thought that we would first record about like a 5-minute segment, basically explaining, why we do the show, what got us into it, et cetera, and then we would kind of do a Q&A session between us.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of us will take turns here. So for example, I'll be going first, and what'll happen is I'll have my 5 little thing. Remember, to all the fans out there, we asked you to send in some clips or some text stuff. This is basically our version of that. And then after that, then you guys will interview me for 15 minutes or so, and then we'll just rotate that out as we see fit.
And it's going to be kind of special for all of us too, because even outside of the show, we've never really taken the time to stop each other and be like, what is the show really meant to you? Or why do you keep coming here and doing this every week? So it'll be kind of a unique opportunity for us to actually get to ask each other stuff about why we really love making the show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we thought that'd be a fun thing for this week. It'll help you guys get to know us a little bit better, our pasts, our futures, and things like that. And so without further ado, we're going to start with me. And I hope you guys enjoy. Hey guys, Rainbow Plasma here. I guess I'm the one who's starting off and kind of introducing you guys to this whole cool segment thing that we're doing. And I guess I'm I would say I'm leading by example, but these are all pre-recorded anyways. But leading by example is an interesting topic because it's something that I wanted to kind of use as a topic for this kind of 5-minute segment that I'm doing. I am a leader. That's who I am. I was born that way. It's just what I do. I see a group of people I that's unorganized, and I go, I want to organize that. I want to lead that. I want to, I don't know. That's just who I am. That's just how I'm built. It doesn't make me better than people. It's just, the role that I play in kind of like a group environment. And I love it, and it's great to me. But the problem with that, and what a lot of people don't realize, is that leaders need good people surrounding them in order to be the best leaders that they can be. A very common thing that happens to a lot of leaders is that leaders will not be able to find those supporting cast of characters to really make everything well-rounded, and it'll end up, just being that one person by themselves. I've worked in online entertainment for almost 4 years now, counting this last year of CAC. And other than this one project, for the most part, I've done most of the stuff by myself, because the other people I've met over the years or worked with just didn't have the same passion and drive that I did. I have very high standards for myself, and when I work with other people, I hold them up to the standards that I hold to myself. Very high standards that I want to, I want to exhibit, because when I put out something or when I'm a part of something, I want it to be one of the best things I can make, given the current circumstances, etc., etc. So in a roundabout way, talking about myself is trying to get to the subject of, well, not myself. We were told, as a group, to come up with the one thing that kind of, described your experience and kind of exemplified exactly what this last year of Cutie Art Crusaders has meant to you. And for me, that's my team. These 3 other guys are the best thing that's come out of the Cutie Art Crusaders, for me at least, in the last year, because for the first time in any of my projects, I've really felt like I was a part of a team. I didn't feel like I was, dragging dead weight. I didn't feel like I was, doing everything myself, or even not doing enough in some cases and letting other people lead me. The team that I've got here for Cutie Art Crusaders is one of the most balanced and amazing crew that I could have ever asked to have. We have 4 widely varied people who all have different opinions and personality types and styles, and it all comes together. And the most important part is that everyone is equally passionate, motivated, and just, wants to make the show as much as I do, and wants to put in their all as much as I will. Over the years, I've obviously garnered some low expectations based on previous encounters, and these guys have done nothing but, shatter that kind of expectation that I had. When I asked I asked everyone if anyone would be available to edit, because editing every week becomes quite tough. And Burned stepped up to the challenge, and he said, I want to start editing. And I said, that's great. So I did things to help him. I set up like a template for the editing. I talked to him extensively about the tutorials and stuff. But, I still had very low expectations. Not because I think Burned is bad, but just because I've experienced that in the past, and I didn't know him that well at the time. I'd only known him for a couple months. And that's just a perfect example of exceeding expectations, where Burn's taken on this thing, and because he has the same kind of passion, the same kind of drive, and the same kind of, standards for himself, he's done amazingly. And all the other guys have done that as well. So if I had to describe, the one thing that rounds out the experience for me with the Cutie Art Crusaders, it would be, the team that I have here. And that's so important to me. It's the fact that it's a team. It's not just the people I have here, but we are such a team, and that is really, really amazing. And I'd like to finish this off with a quote that I heard years ago, and that was that good leaders don't have followers. Good leaders have partners. And I think I found that here, and that's really special to me.
Aww.
What?
Aww.
Sorry, I'm on iTunes and it changed to the next song.
So there you go. That's my little 5-minute segment.
Aww.
Did you hear me snicker at the start of it?
No, I didn't.
That's because that's because I clicked on the wrong one, and instead of your 5-minute thing, it started playing the one we used to say.
We will never speak of that again.
It was becoming Burned. No, sorry, it was Big Burn best friend forever.
Okay.
Oh god.
Yes.
So yeah, now,
Love
because
that
this is
album.
the example one, now we'll move on to the interview.
All right.
So yeah, go ahead.
Gotta ask you questions?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh god, this is weird.
Right? You're always the one who's like taking the point to start an interview, or like start the questions that we go off of. And I don't know. That's kind of, I guess, a point I wanted to make in the questions, but I can't warp a question around it. Is that it's not even a question, it's just a point I want to make. It's that we have, like, us three have no guiding factor of what the heck to do making a podcast without you here to like guide us.
Mm-hmm.
So like how we started the show, what we do in step by step in the show, or even what we do in the interview, like you're the first person to say like, hey, special person who Burn has managed to rile here. Like, here's some questions that the other three can go off of, or here's like a base. I don't know. And it's kind of like you've always been this little binding factor that we have that keeps us going and making this thing that we would have no clue how the hell to make without you.
Yeah. You're really the grounding factor in this whole ordeal, and you know, we can always look back to you to kind of guide us along the way, and if we run out of questions in an interview, you can always find something to ask or yeah.
Well,
because that was even one of the points you made, was that it's like you've always been this leader and gravitated towards it. None of us, like none of us three are like leaders or ever gravitated towards being leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I try to, you know, part of being a leader is kind of recognizing that, and you know, I would never expect, like I said in there, I have high expectations, but I would never expect you guys to just be able to jump in and do, you know, from the time I was born, for whatever reason, I've been really good at like improv speaking, like coming up with stuff on the spot and spinning it into a coherent sentence. For some reason, I'm really good at it. Speaking normal sentences, apparently I fumble over those, but yeah, like the kind of just thinking of stuff on the spot, like coming up with those questions and kind of doing that, I've been really good at.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you know, I try to do things as a leader that helps other people kind of come up, because, you know, as I mentioned, the people that I've worked with before, it just hasn't worked out because they haven't been able to step up to that challenge. But what I want to be able to do is to be in a group where I can set challenges that are realistic and have people exceed them, you know? And, you know, that's what I was kind of talking about. You guys have done that because, like, even though you're not naturally like that, if you look back like a year ago compared to like today, you guys are much better at that kind of stuff.
Well, speaking of exceeding expectations, I guess the thing that I find most admirable, and a quality that I don't think I've ever seen in anyone, especially a leader before, is the thing you constantly do, in that when you're taking kind of a leading role with us, you always stop and like you step back and you're like, hey, am I being too leadery here? Or you know what I mean? Where it's like you take that point of self-reflection and you're like, hey, am I doing this too much or am I doing this wrong? Like most leaders will just do like what they see fit, but there's always this point of like, if you mess up or if you be too stern, like you'll take a moment to like stop and like apologize or fix it. And there's been a lot of times like where you've contacted me personally and you've been like, Burn, like this happened, I feel bad about it, and like you apologize or something. And
Right.
I can't think of a single person in my entire life who has went out of their way to stop and apologize to me for something that they've done. And I guess that makes you the first.
Well, it's also because I'm Canadian, so I apologize for everything. Yeah, no,
it's true.
It's true. You also say hey
I do
sometimes.
say a lot.
Yes.
Not on the podcast though, so I'm pretty good about that.
No.
Pretty good about that, eh?
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say, like when I first started recording, and I guess this probably also applies to Pinky Dash. We were very, kind of,
Nervous?
Shy.
Yeah, we'll go with shy.
Introverted.
Yeah, we'll say that.
Yeah.
Go for that one.
And you've really kind of brought out the best in us on this podcast. So thank you.
And honestly, it just came from practice. Like, you know, this isn't my first run of the mill, you know. This is something that I would consider like my best project so far or whatever. But, you know, it's all about a learning process. And I'm sure as you guys have learned over the last year, you know, you guys have learned a bunch of stuff. And so on top of that, I was also working in online entertainment for 3 years. So I got to pick up a lot of that stuff, including what Bernd was saying about, you know, taking a step back and realizing, because, you know, for years I would be a leader and then people wouldn't meet my high expectations and I would just blow them off. And I'd say, well, then I'll do it myself. You know, like a lot of the online stuff that I've done before was 90% of the time me, because I couldn't deal with other people not being as quote unquote good as me, you know? But, you know, I've tried to kind of step back from that a little bit.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
How did you come up with the idea for a podcast? Because I know we did Vector Club Weekly before this, but you were the one who initially came up with the idea for doing an art podcast or an art-centered podcast.
Right. Well, okay. So in case people don't know, we had a podcast before Cutie Art Crusaders called Vector Club Weekly. It all started because we were in the same group, and I suggested a podcast for that group, and then it got picked up, et cetera, et cetera. Long story, not important now. But I did suggest making the podcast, and that was interesting because a lot of the stuff that I'd done before in my online career was to do with video games. And something that was not really popular last year or whenever we started, but was something that really interested me was podcasts. I had just started listening to stuff. Like I started listening to like the Rooster Teeth podcast, like a bunch of these different ones. And it was something that I really enjoyed. And so because I'm a person who loves to talk, and a podcast is just basically an hour or so of talking, I was like, I wanted to get my opinions out there on like video games and stuff. And so I wanted to do a podcast. That never worked out. I tried to do one for about a year. Nobody could get together for it. And so I thought there's a bunch of dedicated people at this group that I'm doing. Why not suggest some sort of art podcast? I like doing tutorials. We can spin into some sort of tutorial, right? And so I thought about that, and I just kind of suggested it. And it spiraled out of control until suddenly we're a year into this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I remember reading your original little post. It's like, that sounds like a cool idea, but I never would have expected it would have carried into something that I would be so passionate about.
Yeah. Well, that's that's the kind of thing that happens though, and it's why I always advocate people to just go out and do stuff, because if you don't go out and do stuff, then it's not going to happen. You gotta just go out and maybe a lot of my projects have ended up being nothing or just not working out as you expected or whatever. But the fact of the matter is you still made it and you still did it. And one of those things is going to catch on sooner or later, one of those things. And it just so happens that with the whole pony fandom, the first thing that I did basically caught on, but that's just kind of luck of the draw, so.
Yeah. Did you ever think at the beginning that like it would turn out to be something like this big?
No, I mean, like I had really high expectations for that group. And I thought it would be a really cool thing, but I didn't really see it as more of like for me at the very beginning, that podcast was just kind of almost like selfishly to a point where it was more of like a scratch the itch of me wanting to talk for an hour,
Yeah.
And when we got picked up by Everfree Network, then it kind of changed from that to being like, oh, this is an actual thing. I was I wasn't against it, but I was like really cautious about it because none of us really knew about art, right? So like we all did like vector work, but we hadn't really looked at other pony art before. But I guess we're doing a pretty good job of it now.
I remember that meeting that we kind of all sat together at after we got asked by Final Draft to be on Everfree, and we were all like, we were really excited about it, but we were all very hesitant because none of us had really done anything outside of vector work before, and so for us it was kind of going to be a challenge. And I don't know, we were very nervous, I think, going into it. So
I remember you were actually the person who encouraged me, like Aaron, with that podcast, because we were all like, well, we don't know anything about it or whatever. And I remember there was a moment where you were like, Burn, do you actually know junk? It's like, you'll do really well. And there was kind of that moment where like, you definitely gave me like the encouragement that I needed to like go out and like make the show, be a part of the show.
The interesting thing about this podcast is that like it's the most satisfying thing I've done in terms of like, because I've been around for 4.5 years making content, right? And no, to other people out there, that does not mean I'm going to link my previous content. Okay, that's just not a thing.
Damn, I was just
no. I'm not linking my previous content. It's not because I'm like embarrassed about it, but it's stuff I made when I was like, like 15, 16,
Yeah.
So you're embarrassed about it.
But I don't know. It's a good memory for me, but I'd like to keep it a good memory for me. But I did stuff that was up there. I think I wrote it down somewhere like after I quit it before we started this thing, and I was like, I'd done stuff that had accumulated like 3 million views, and like that's a big number, like that's pretty cool. Like it helped pay for my university and stuff like that. And but nothing really, and that's why I really emphasize the team thing, because all of that was individual. You know, I would work with other people, but a lot of the times they would just be lackluster or wouldn't really care as much as I did. And so it ended up being meh. But then with you guys, it's really satisfying because I feel like I'm a part of a team. And for the longest time, that's all I really wanted to do. When I was working by myself, making those old videos, all I wanted to do is meet someone who had the same kind of passion and we could work as a team. And it seems like nowadays people are kind of recognizing that in online media, that the team thing. I mean, look at like the Rooster Teeth stuff and, you know, even
Mindcrack, whatever.
Yeah, Mindcrack servers. CNanners is an individual channel, but almost all of his videos are group, right? And so I guess I've always wanted to do that. And
You make me feel so special.
you know what's funny? So a little behind the scenes knowledge of the podcast. Whenever we have an art piece, because I'm the organizer, I usually take it upon myself to make sure that we're on time, which is a role that literally I'm the only person who enjoys. Everybody else is like, no, just make it go longer.
I have no idea how long we've been talking, but I have faith that you do.
Right. And so what's funny is usually whenever we do an art piece, I will put an exclamation mark in the chat when I think it's time to wrap up. Because, you know, we have to keep things on time. And Pinky Dash just gave me an exclamation mark. So that's funny.
That is too rich.
I think we are actually running up on time, so...
Yes.
Yeah, you've been talking for about 20 minutes now.
That's not true, because we've been recording for
true,
23, so you're a liar! But yeah, we are getting up on it.
Well, I might have recorded that extra minute. We were just yelling at each other.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. This has been a more satisfying experience for me because... You know, you guys are... I feel like I'm a part of the team, and it's really something that, like, has not happened to me before, even with all the previous stuff I've done, which is really awesome.
Make me feel so special. I'm gonna cry.
So, the next one will be Burns, so we'll listen to Burns' 5-minute thing, and then we'll be back.
Yay me! Hey, Burndo1 here. To answer the question, what has my experience over the past year making the show been like? And I guess my answer to that is it's been real life-changing. Another part of this question was like, what does this show mean to me? And when it started out, like when I first started making this show was just something to do. It was like a way to give back, because since I was like a newfound Brony and just starting out in the Brony community, I was really striving for that sense of like, I want to be a part of this thing that seems so amazing to me. And I was at a really like lonely part of my life too, and at a real unguided part of my life where I just didn't know what I was doing or what I wanted to do. And all of my like good lifelong friends had flown away to do with a wind turbine business crap. And so it was just like most of my time was spent on my computer just playing games and stuff like that, and I didn't really have a passion. I've never really had a passion about something. I've always liked gaming, but what teenage boy in the 90s didn't like gaming? So whatever. But right when the show started, it was an amazing opportunity to give back, and I was like, like this sounds kind of interesting. I think I'll start recording a show. At the time was Vector Club Weekly, and it was like, and Rainbow Plasma threw out the idea of a podcast. I was like, that's not something I ever did before. That sounds kind of cool. But I was hesitant at first because this may seem as a shock to some of our viewers, but I've always sucked at talking. I've never, ever been good at talking. It's always been a weak point. I've always been really introverted. I've never been very outgoing, and it's always been very hard for me to start a conversation, carry on a conversation, or even just talk about something. I had kind of known that I liked talking about stuff I enjoy, but I'd never really been given opportunities to just go on about something I'm really passionate about. And being a Brony and starting the show was really the first opportunity that was given to me to really just talk about something I was really passionate about and just go on about it with like unyielding passionitude, because I can't think of the right word, so I'll just make one up. But I can just keep going on about it. I never knew that about myself, to where I could just love something so much that every like fiber of me just wants to share it with someone. And this show has really been my first opportunity that I've been given to just share something I love with other people, which would be the my three other members on this podcast and the viewers. And I'd never known that, and it was something I discovered about myself. And a huge other self-discovery that I found while recording the show is that I really, really love teaching. I had always kind of known that I enjoyed teaching people, or helping people is what I thought it was at first. And I still enjoying helping people, but I thought it was just as simple as that. Because you know that I do pony vectors. I mean, I made my avatar and all that. We're all vector artists. That's because I did really well in graphic design in high school and stuff, so I knew Illustrator and all that stuff, and learning pony vectors is relatively simple for me. And I learned it, and I went and did a lot of critiques, and I enjoyed doing critiques. In fact, my DeviantArt gallery is rather unimpressive as far as vectors go, because I never made a lot of vectors. I spent all my time critiquing vectors, and that's the majority of what I did, and I loved critiquing vectors. I loved helping people. I loved that feeling when I critiqued someone's vector, and they were like, "Thank you, that was helpful," and I was like, it was really self-satisfying to know that I helped someone, but more so that I shared knowledge about something that I had, and it made me feel useful, I guess. And so recording this show and getting let me digress for a second. So when we started recording the Cutie Art Crusaders, I started taking art classes, and art has never been a passion of mine, and I had never known it could be a passion of mine. I'd always been kind of good at art, but it was never really that, like, a strong sense of passion. But once I started taking, like, my first drawing classes and first painting classes, I really fell in love with it, and I was like, wow, this world of art is something that fascinates me. And I had always hated learning, or thought I hated learning, but then when I found out when I love learning about something that I care about, which would be art. And then I get to learn that art and then come back on a show where we talk about art, about a subject that I'm passionate about, and then I can't shut up about it because I just want to share that knowledge with other people. And I found that I love teaching people and helping people. Even where I work, I get to teach people and help people learn to play Magic, and I help them with that. And I'm known as the guy to where people go to help them with their decks. And it's a strong sense of pride, and I get that same sense of pride from the show because I love teaching and sharing my passion and sharing my knowledge. And I'd never known that about myself, and this show has really shown that to me. And I've never known what I want to do with the rest of my life. And I think because of the show and because of how much I love art and found that I've loved teaching, I think I want to become an art teacher. I honestly think that's something that I would love to do with the rest of my life. But I would never have known that if it wasn't for the show and the three other people who actually make that possible and made possible the opportunity for me to find that about myself. And I owe everything to who I am now, to those three individuals, and then you, the people listening to this, the viewers. Like, thank you all so much. Like, I can't tell you how much I love you from the bottom of my heart, that there would be some random people in the world who would be interested to listen to my voice and just learn silly little things that I've brought back from my beginning college level courses that I can't get enough of. And it means so much to me that someone could find some sense of enjoyment about something silly I am a part of, and with three other silly people whom I'm part of and whom I love. So thank you all so much, and I guess that really sums up why this show is special to me. Now I'm way over my time. I guess it wouldn't be me if I couldn't stop rambling, right? Anyway, my name's Bernd Andreas Hoffman, aka Bernd01, and thanks again for listening to my voice.
Aww.
Your middle name is Andreas?
Yeah.
No way! I totally just learned that. Oh man! You know, I was
gonna say the exact same thing. So yeah.
before we even start this, I'd like to point out that it is very funny to me that Bernd happened to be the one over time. But you know, I always bug you about that, Bernd. But you know that I don't mind it when you go over because, like you said, you know, you're passionate about something. So that actually really interests me, Bern, because none of us really knew you before ponies. Like, well, that's actually, we can say that definitively. None of us
Yeah.
knew you before ponies, and so we didn't really get to know the kind of guy who didn't have that passion, who didn't have that willingness to speak up. And so that's really interesting to me, at least, to hear that because, like, even though I know you more personally than, say, the people listening to the show, even I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Same.
I don't know, it's kind of something that, I don't know, maybe I didn't want people to know, because, like, a lot of my old photos, like, even on my Facebook or stuff, they're, like, me wearing a hat, or, like, wearing a hood, or just, like, being super introverted or shy. Like, there was never a moment where I would just talk and, like, not shut up about something. I just wasn't that person. So it's just, like, given this opportunity to come here every week and then talk about something that I love has just been something that I've never had before, I suppose. And, like, I say that I never had a passion, but it's like, I used to game a lot, I used to love video games, but, like, what teenager didn't? It was more of an escape than a passion. So it's like, I never had that thing to where it's like, oh my god, I love this and I can't get enough of it, I want to wear it all over my body with pony shirts or whatever, you know.
Yeah, and especially the art.
Like, I just never had that, so I don't know.
I mean, when I first started doing vector art and stuff, you were the first person to critique one of my pieces of vector art. And so I have to thank you for getting me involved in this whole thing. Because, you know, even back then, like, when you were critiquing the art that I was submitting to the MLP Vectors subreddit, it was like, you know, you were very passionate about it. You knew your stuff. And, you know, just getting to know you through the Vector Club and through the CIC, it's like, you know, it's been an honor.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. It's really interesting to me to hear that because, like I said, from the first impression that I got of you, and I don't know my history here, but was it you or Pinky Dash who was like the first person in the out of us in the Vector Club?
It was technically me, but they invited people in 2 waves. So they invited me, and then I was like, oh, you should invite these people. And then by the time I had said that, they had already sent out the second wave of invites.
Right. But like,
so it was Pinky Dash and I were like technically the first.
Right. But like, even then, like from that very start, you know, you gave off that impression that you really, maybe you've been giving this off your entire life, but you just give off this, like, I love to teach kind of vibe, you know. You've always kind of had that.
Well, but I never realized that. Like, even when with the pony vectors and like the Vector Club and the Vector subreddit, like, I put all of my effort into critiquing people's stuff and looking at their stuff and trying to, like, be that person who is helpful rather than putting the effort into making vectors. Like, if you look at my DeviantArt gallery, that is my sum of pony vectors for like the past 2 years, and it's really unimpressive because I have like a vector folder full of over like 400 critiques that I just did because I wanted to. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I get that because when I first met you, we were sort of, because we live in different time zones, back on that vector subreddit, we were fighting over who does what. So somebody will post something at some time, and then if it's in my time zone, I'll jump onto it, and then I'll come back in the afternoon, and there'll be a comment there from you, or vice versa. You did it first, and I'll come on later on. But yeah, since then it's always has been learning, teaching each other. I mean, you sort of taught me in the ways of Photoshop, you evil person.
Before you learned the correct way.
Yeah, but before I moved on to a proper vectoring software. You know, Ponyscape, etc. Get into that a bit later on. But yeah, it's always been a pleasure to work with you because of reasons.
Aw. Thanks. That's sweet, actually. Like, it started out as a feud between us. Like, I started because of your time zone. When I got home was like when you got home before me, because I got home late from work. So I started doing critiques at work, like secretly, so my boss wouldn't see on like the work computer behind the counter, and started trying to do critiques using like MS Paint just because I wanted to get to it before you did.
That was great fun.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah.
I have posted a couple of critiques on DeviantArt, but since I've done those, every single person who's made one of those has either deleted their account or deleted the image that I critiqued. So that's kind of annoying.
Oh.
I've just started doing critiques on DeviantArt, and it's been kind of fun.
So, I mean, we know a lot about this because we talked to you, you know, a little bit more than perhaps the people who are listening to this obviously do.
Except perhaps one. One person.
But, you know, you've had a lot of art training since you started the podcast and since you found that kind of passion. Can you talk a little bit about, like, what that art training is and, like, you know, what you've gone through in the last year?
Well, it started out, like, right when we started CAC. I took Drawing 1. Because, like, when I was little, I always kind of drew and was actually pretty good at it. And I was just kind of self-taught. I picked up some drawing books and, like, I always got compliments. But they were compliments from, like, family. And, you know, it's like your mother's always going to tell you that your drawings look good or whatever. So I kind of had, like, a small little sense of, what do you want to call that? That I could, like, draw well or whatever. And I have some, like, decent sketches from when I was, like, 14, 15,
Right.
Maybe even younger. So I kind of had that, like, wanting to just, like, draw, but I never went out of my way to learn drawing. So I took that Drawing 1 class. And then while we were, and that was, like, right when I became a Brony. So then while we were recording the show in, like, CAC, I think we were doing Vector Club Weekly, I was, like, I kind of had that interest in drawing ponies. Or wanting to draw. And so I drew a few ponies in that class. But I did really well in that class. And, like, something that really touched me and really kind of inspired me and pushed me to seek out more art classes was my teacher, Grant Hoddle. Like, there's always that teacher who tells you something that really sticks with you. The thing that he said to me was that, like, you are my best student in this class, and you honestly shouldn't be in this class. You shouldn't be in Drawing 1. You should be out doing something where you can actually work to a better potential. And I just kind of took that, like, wow, like, no one's ever said that to me before. And then I took that back to the show, to where it's like, I do this, like, I can do something well. It's like, and I want to share, like, that with people. And I want to, like, I took that kind of, like, that teaching role. It's like, I learned these things and I want to, like, keep sharing them with people. And then, so that inspired me to take more art classes. So then I took, after that, I took Painting 1, as just to branch out into something different. And the real reason I took it, was the only class that Grant was teaching. My teacher that I took in the drawing class was the only one that he was teaching. So I took that one, the first level of that. And again, like, I really enjoyed it, and I started learning a lot of things. I started learning a lot of things about color, so on and so forth. And then on my final, I learned value, and that's how that all started.
I could definitely tell the second that you came back and started talking about it. I was like, he's learned this in class.
Yeah, so it's like, whenever I would learn something that I thought was fascinating or cool in class, I would bring it back to the show and I would share it. And it wasn't just an opportunity for me to, like, teach other people. It was an opportunity for me to teach myself, for to, like, really make it, like, stick. And I've always hated school. I've always hated learning. And it's always been this real angsty thing, you know, that I've never had. But, like, I can't wait to get to, like, even my art history class, and then learn something stupid about the Baroque era or whatever. And just because the art not only fascinates me, but the concept that I actually want to learn something fascinates me.
Yeah.
So after that, I took my art appreciation class to see if, like, learning like silly stuff like art history was something I enjoyed, and then I did. And same thing, like, as soon as I started learning stuff in art history, I brought it back to you guys. That's why we did that realism episode and stuff. And then, like, now I just finished Art 221, which is Baroque to Renaissance. And then I'm going to be taking Art 223 in fall, which is, excuse me. It's whatever. I said Baroque to Renaissance, which is totally wrong. It's like right after Ancient to Renaissance, like Dark Ages, Renaissance, whatever. Then the next class, U23, is Baroque to modern.
Yeah, I mean, you've always had this air of, I'm not sure if we've mentioned this too much on the podcast, but we always talk about it between ourselves. I mean, you and I always have this kind of, because we're both very, I mean, you might not have had this previously, but, like, you and I are both very kind of strong personalities. And a lot of that comes from being fueled by passion. And but we also have a conflict in the fact that, I want to make a show that's entertaining. I want to make a show that's both, but my primary focus is making a show that's entertaining, and your primary focus is making a show educational. And I mean, I think we find a really cool balance on this show, and I think that's what people like. I guess that comes from your teaching, your instincts to teach, to get that kind of education out there. I don't know. It's a very interesting dynamic that you bring, and I think even though I've given you tons of crap in the past for bringing up stuff that you've learned in art class, the fact of the matter is you're bringing up things that normally we wouldn't even think about, and it's these abstract concepts that are the fundamental aspects of art that if you had not taken those courses and brought them up as you learn them, we might have missed something very important, like value.
Well, like value, for instance, none of us knew what value was until you decided to bring it up. Yeah.
We had the idea, darks and lights and how they work with each other, but, we didn't really have a concrete thing until you brought that up. If there's everybody wants a legacy. If there's a legacy for you, I mean, sure, there's the meme value, but like when it actually comes down to it, your legacy is really teaching people about that and teaching people in general on this podcast.
That's kind of special. Special for me. I appreciate that.
You're kind of special.
In more ways than one.
Aw. Oh, I was just going to say that something that really touched me about your recording, your little snippet, was how you're considering going into art teaching because of this podcast and because of the courses that you've taken in art. And it's just, you've taught us so much, and I'm sure you've taught like all of our viewers so much about art. And so if that is what you end up going into, we wish you
a first-year art student.
yeah.
But you're doing such a good job regardless of the fact that you're a first-year art student, So it shows a lot of potential.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
Oh, I was just going to say we wish you all the best.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's because everyone's like, "Oh, what are you gonna?" Or everyone thinks that, like, what do I want to do when I get older? Like, what do I want to do? And everyone always says, like, do what you love. And like, I found something that I really love doing, so I figure, like, why not try to like seek that out and like keep learning art and doing something I enjoy or learning something I enjoy, and then like maybe I can make a life out of that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who's trying to do that myself, I have a tremendous amount of respect for you for finding a passion and really seeking that out in the fullest. And that is going to end this segment because that's it is time. So, we're going to now move on to Flutter Guy, your little 5-minute snippet. Mm-hmm. And so, without further ado, here is Flutter Guy's little insert.
When I joined the Brony fandom in February 2012, I had no idea what I was getting into, who I would meet, or what I would do. I was browsing Reddit, and I came across a couple of posts about My Little Pony, and I figured that I would check it out, see what it was all about. And next thing you know, I'm marathoning seasons 1 and 2 and loving every minute of it. And I stayed on Reddit for a while and watched the main subreddit, the My Little Pony subreddit, and I was just amazed at the amount and quality of things that the community was giving back, like fan-made content, and especially like the artwork. So in March, I kind of figured that I would try and give back to the community myself. So I decided to start vectoring, and I posted my vectors to the MLP Vector subreddit, where I actually Burned and Silver Reigns, who is sometimes in the chat, helped critique my vectors and helped me grow as an artist. And from there, I joined the MLP Vector Club, and then got asked to be an admin, and then we started our MLP Vector Club podcast, and that turned into Cutie Art Crusaders, and it's gone from there. It's been such an amazing ride, and to think that we've been doing this for a year now it's mind-blowing. I had no idea when we started this podcast that we would be at this point, but it's been so fantastic. Cutie Art Crusaders to me, has been an amazing opportunity to kind of give back to the community as well. And, being an artist who started out, well, actually, before I joined the fandom, I had really no interest in art. I had no experience in art. Like, the last time that I had actually done any art was probably in middle school. But something about the artist community and, actually, just the whole Brony community in general drew me in, and there was so much support for artists who are starting out. And I'd like to think that, with Cutie Art Crusaders, we're another resource to help artists who are starting out or who are looking to improve or who just need some motivation to keep doing art. And, it's been amazing to actually see some artists grow as we've been doing this podcast. And we've gotten some people writing into us that our podcast has kind of helped motivate them or helped them improve a bit. And, we've seen artists who I would assume would never think to do art, try it out and become fantastic artists during the run of the show. And, it's just so heartwarming, because that's really one of the reasons that I do the show, is because, I was there. I started with no art background, and because of the community, I grew as an artist. And it's, it's always nice to hear that we're helping other people, other artists kind of grow in the fandom as well. And, the amount and the quality of art that we've seen in this fandom week to week is just fantastic. It's, it's mind-blowing how amazing artists in this fandom are. And that's one of the amazing parts of doing this podcast, is that we get to kind of scour DeviantArt and the rest of the internet looking for this amazing art. Every week it's, it's something new and exciting, and the amount and quality of art that we've seen is just, it's so phenomenal. And, it's all because of the amazing artists within this fandom, which is actually, it's another amazing thing about doing Cutie Art Crusaders, is that I've been able to meet so many great artists and hear their story about, how they got involved in art and why they're continuing to do art, and just kind of hear what their whole process is, because I'm still learning about art, just as much as anyone else. And it's always amazing to hear what some of these, I would say, professional artists are doing, because the quality of their work is just so fantastic. And it really speaks volumes to the community and to the people who kind of helped support the community of artists.
I think the most interesting thing for me listening to that is just like the fact that we have had like the exact same journey. Like it's true. It's honestly creepy sometimes. Like, yeah, obviously there are certain things. We both joined the fandom at the same time. We both were invited to the admin team at the same time. We were both blah, blah, blah. Like, my first critique on Reddit was on a piece of yours and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then there's stuff like how you feel about art and like how that's like what you consider important and stuff. It's creepy sometimes how similar this whole thing has been between you and me. It really is.
It kind of is, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kiss.
I mean, both of us, we've had like literally the same story. Both of us started posting on Reddit at about the same time, in the MLP Vector Club subreddit, and both of us started critiquing vectors at the same time, and then both of us got invited to be admins for the Vector Club at the same time, and then we both obviously started the podcast at the same time, and now it's weird.
Well, I mean, that parallel is probably, well, no, it's not probably, but it to a certain point, it's the reason why you're on the podcast, because when I started the podcast, I didn't pick 3 people and say, let's go. I opened it up to everyone and saying, hey, would anybody be available for this? Here's times and dates. If you can make it, then let's do this, And that's how we ended up with us 4. And if there was one person that I wanted to respond, yes. and that was you. Because not only had we had such a similar thing, but like every single interaction with you had was so pleasant and so nice and so just like it. I just wanted like you were just the type of person that I wanted to get to know, and like it's turned out really well. Apparently, I was right. Like we do get along really, really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you were the one person who I was like, if there was one person who I wanted to have on this show, then it would probably be this guy.
Oh.
And hey, it's worked out pretty well so far, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're easily like one of the nicest people I've ever interacted with within just the fandom in general.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
For sure. And it's a pretty nice fandom.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in terms of like starting the podcast, I don't know. I was at the point in the fandom, like I was already submitting vectors and doing admin work for the Vector Club, but I kind of wanted to branch out a little bit more, and I don't know, I hadn't really been a good public speaker or really good at speaking in general at all, but when you threw up the podcast, the notice that you were starting up a podcast, I don't know, I was looking for something different and something that I hadn't done before. So I kind of jumped at the idea. And honestly, like I was so nervous when we first met because I had no idea, what I was getting into.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the same.
Yeah. I remember that very vividly because we both hopped on Skype and it was you and me, and I think Burned and Pinky Dash joined us later, but
Yeah.
we were,
you were the one who contacted me first. That's for sure.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
True love forever. Getting married in November. I'm just joking.
Everfree Northwest, baby.
Where was mine?
You're gross. Yeah. Well, I think what's really interesting is that you're kind of a quiet guy, but over the last year, I've seen you really come out of your shell. Not just like to us, because as you get to know shy people, they come out of their shell, but also just in general. You've had a bunch of projects that you're working on, and I think one of the most important things that I've noticed from you, it comes from a very simple change that you made about halfway through this whole year, and that's you changed your favorite pony. And that sounds extremely trivial, and that sounds silly, but the fact of the matter is, it makes so much sense. You started out this year by having a favorite pony of Fluttershy, very cute, very, all the things that people would describe you as. And, but he was still very shy. And then about halfway through the year, you started really enjoying Applejack's character. And I think the interesting thing is a lot of the traits of Applejack would still describe you. Very honest, very hardworking, very kind, very friendly, that kind of thing. And I think it's just funny though.
Orange.
But that really showed, because like if you look at Applejack versus Fluttershy, Applejack is a very confident pony.
That's so freaking heartwarming. Like, as a non-brony, that has got to be the cheesiest thing I have ever heard. Like, if but it's like, as a brony, and it's just like, yes, I totally get your simile, and it's like completely true.
Yeah.
And that is like retardedly heartwarming.
Yeah. No, I mean, I kind of was thinking about this and why I kind of switched my favorite ponies. And, I mean, I think that at some point I just got really comfortable with the whole idea of the fandom and doing the podcast and stuff, and at that point it clicked over, because I'm not necessarily a shy person, but I'm shy when I first join a group or when I first meet people or anything like that. And like I just graduated college 2 years ago, and so I was kind of out on my own. I knew some people at work with me, but it was like a whole new kind of adventure, and I was nervous and shy. And so halfway through the podcast, I was like, it's really a comfortable environment, and I'm enjoying it. So
that's awesome to hear. Like, because like I've definitely tell that like you've really opened up and you really become like that more outgoing person, and it's like that whole thing of like honest Applejack, and she's always nice. It's like you freaking like that. It's like, because before you started out as like a real Fluttershy kind of person, like kind of wanting to help or like leaving some critiques, like, oh, that's okay. And now you've just kind of developed into this person who's like by far completely gone out of his way to code a program just because it seems like a good thing to do. And you take on these like goals and things that you want to accomplish just for like a greater good. And like that's by far what I respect about you the most, is that you just do these things for kindness sake and just to be a good person. And it's like sometimes I wish that I could be kind of like that. And like when you mentioned my name in your interview, and I don't know, it was kind of special to me because I kind of just realized that it's like I do have this effect on people, like when I teach them, like, because I taught people because it's like that's kind of what I wanted to do, and I didn't know why. You know, I didn't do it because it's like, oh, it seems like the right thing to do. I just really wanted to share knowledge with people, and then like I'm now realizing that it's actually touched the like people, including you, in this certain way. And I don't know, it's like a feeling I haven't really realized.
You know, I mean, Burned, you almost had a really great transition, but I'm gonna have to take it away from you here. Because I do really want to talk to you about something that is a very large part of your life, but is something that no one who just listens to the show would ever know about, and that's your Ponyscape project. And I mean,
I want to do Ponyscape.
What? You want to do Ponyscape?
Yeah, Pinky Dash actually uses it. So.
Yeah,
exactly.
True. I mean, I don't, but you know, such a good friend. Go ahead.
Okay, so for those who don't actually know, Flutter Guy here, we don't for making vectors. There's a couple of different programs you can use: Illustrator, air quotes, Photoshop, etc., etc. However, Illustrator costs quite a bit of money to get legally, and there was a freeware program for vectors called Inkscape, which if you've ever delved into Vector Club, etc., you'll probably see the word around. And so that's what we were using. Now they keep releasing new versions of this, and it has new features in it, but they were never really that good. So they were always buggy, they were always experimental, and they're not really that quick on developing new features. Now Flutter Guy got hold of this code because it's open source, and he's gone and he's made it Ponyscape. So he's made it his own, and he's put in so much work into this program, and it's amazing. It's there's all sorts of new features in here. It's a lot of the stuff has, and he's even been asked to join the Inkscape development team. So that's how much work he's put into this, and he's been recognized by the people who actually make the program. There's all sorts of stuff in it that I would never be able to do because code. What is code? How do I computer? All that sort of stuff, etc. But it's all really user friendly. He's a great developer. He will respond to questions. He does all of that, and it's so much work all on his own time without ever being paid for it. So, Flutter Guy, thank you very much for that. You've made vectoring a lot easier.
You're welcome. No, that's really nice to hear. I mean, I went to school for software engineering, and I'm a software engineer at work. So, you know, we were doing Cutie Art Crusaders, and I don't know, I was kind of getting fed up with having to do certain things when I was creating vectors. And so I figured I would just, you know, for my own benefit, start tinkering away with the source code for Inkscape. And then, you know, I started sharing it with, I think, Pinky Dash, you were probably one of the first people that I
Damn right I was.
I was like, you know, hey, I'm working on this. And I don't know, it grew from there. And then I released it as Ponyscape. And then, right around version 0.2 or I think it was 0.2, I got, contacted by the people who actually develop Inkscape, saying like, hey, you know, this is some pretty cool stuff that you're doing. You know, if you wouldn't mind submitting some of these features to Inkscape itself, you know, that would be really cool. And you know, I don't really have too much time to do things, but I did get asked to join the development team, and technically I think I'm still on the development team. But right now I'm working on kind of creating my own vector suite, which will turn into the new Ponyscape. So development is on hold, but what I'm working on right now is completely from scratch. And yeah, it's like, I don't really expect anything of it. It just started out as a personal project, but right now it's, I'm learning a lot about different methods of coding and stuff, just from this personal project. So it's been inspiring.
And I can't wait for it.
It kind
Do it now.
it kind of sums up a lot of what it kind of sums up your character in general. There's how people would view you on the show is you've got this very nice kind of like gooey exterior, and then when you get past that, there's just like so much to see and so much to like. I enjoy having like really deep conversations with you because you're not just someone to listen and go like you have so much to like say, and you just maybe you don't always want to say something, or maybe you just are not naturally inclined, but there's always something there. And I mean, that's a perfect example of where like people wouldn't even know about that, but you have so much knowledge of code, and you're building programs from scratch and doing all that kind of stuff, but you never really you never gloat about it. You never like bring it up because you're just like, whatever, it's what I'm doing in my spare time.
Yeah.
Whereas to us, we're like, what? You make the programs? We drag the vectors?
Right?
Oh my god!
You bang on your keyboard and it produces
magic.
magic.
You are an Earth pony. You cannot make the unicorn magic. I should know. I have a horn.
Yeah, it's a bit small though.
Okay, well, on that note, we're gonna put you on the spot, Mr. Smallhorn, as we listen to.
I don't have a horn. I have wings.
That's true, Mr. Smallwings.
They're pretty large.
Do you even fly, brah?
As we listen to your little snippet as the final little segment.
Hey everyone, Pinky Dash here. Okay, so I was asked to talk for 5 minutes about what the CAC means to me. Well, why is it important to me? Well, I don't know, have you ever tried talking to yourself for 5 minutes while watching a little blue bar go across the screen? It's quite unnerving. Anyway, why the CAC is important to me? Well, to me it's a way to give something back to the fandom to which I've been such a, well, I guess active member of for the last over a year now. I mean, we first started Vector Club Weekly, I think we're doing 6 episodes of that, so that's 58 weeks ago. Wow, that's quite a long time. That's a year and almost 2 months. When we started that, it was just something to sort of get something back to the members of the group that we were doing it of, and then we got picked up by Everfree Network, at the time Everfree Radio, and sort of grown into what it is today. So it's something that I do just to give back to everyone who's helped me and provided all this amazing art for us to have a look at and fawn over, really, just drool a little bit, saying that why can't we do that? So it's important because I like to be able to give back. I don't want to just sit back there and take. I want to be able to contribute and do my part. So I guess that's what CSC is for me. It's a way to give back. So I'm here for you guys, really, for all you fans. For some reason, I don't know why, but you keep watching us and I guess like us, which is a bit strange. But yeah, I'm here for you guys. It's special to me because, well, in real life, I'm not really that much of a talkative person. I mean, not so much on the CAC either. But for the last year now, I guess I've been slowly getting better. Have I been? I don't know. You guys listen to more episodes than I do. I mean, I guess I have. I've noticed I have. Even not so much while in the pony side of life, it's more professional at work, that sort of thing as well. I've been noticing I've been talking a bit more. I've been gaining confidence from doing these recording sessions, from making this podcast with my other 3 presenters, and thanks to you guys, to all the fans. All the feedback that we get from you guys is that you love the show, you love us. Again, I don't know why, but thank you very much for that. And to be able to, I wouldn't have been able to sit here and talk about myself for 5 minutes about a year ago, so I guess that goes to show that I have become a bit less shy, and that's everybody I have to thank for that. All of you. I've made some great friends through all of this. It's not something that I would have done before had I not been involved in the pony fandom previously. So yeah, it's been great in all aspects of my life. I've been told by some fans who I'm not going to name that we have helped them as well, but it's not just us helping you guys, or not just me helping you, it's you guys helping me as well. So thanks to every single person who's ever watched a show and commented, and who's ever even talked to me personally or made us fan art, all of it. I love all of it. So thank you all very, very, very much. And that's just about to get me to 5 minutes, I think. So thank you all very, very much. Bye. Pinky Dash out.
That's just about enough to get us to 5 minutes, right? That's you just said at the end there. That's just about enough to get us to 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, because when I had recorded it was 5 minutes, and then I had to cut out a lot of me just going, what am I saying now? What?
Well, yeah, I think an interesting thing, and like you've probably encountered this more than any of us, but when you're a kind of a content creator, when you put stuff like that out, people get, I don't know, it's like people this isn't a negative thing, but people kind of don't view you as another person. You're almost like a persona. So when something like that happens, we are just 4 people who live lives, and then once a week we do this podcast.
Like, I just had someone contact me. I won't mention the name. He's an awesome dude, and you're not going to know who you are, and you're awesome. Stay awesome. But he contacted me, and he was like, he was critiquing something that I had said in an episode, and I had said something wrong. I was talking about negative space, and I completely used the term wrong. And like I'll repeat myself, I was completely in the wrong. But he kept apologizing. He's like, I don't want to seem like a dick, and like, I'm really sorry. And I was like, why are you apologizing? It's like, I did something wrong, and you helped me, you corrected me. Like, I appreciate that. And he's like, well, it's really hard to approach someone who's famous, And I was like, what?
What?
And like, that was his concept. That's why he was so self-conscious, is because he saw me as someone who's horse famous, like famous, and like
famous.
It was hard, and it was hard to approach me and be like, hey, it's like, you said this wrong, like I'm some kind of higher power and my word is always correct. And I was like, no, like, thank you. So I don't know, it's just like that moment that I kind of just realized, it's like, wow, there are people in this world who respect me,
Now,
well, they respect your horse famousness anyway.
Now,
it's true.
Pinky Dash, like from your perspective, especially as a shy person, how does it feel to be horse famous?
Yeah, really.
It's weird. People know my name. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like, who am I? I'm just some guy that makes some stuff. Like, what of it?
Yeah.
Seriously.
I know it's all affected us because everybody, all 4 of us have never had anything like this before, so it's weird. But like, I really wanted to get your opinion on like what it was like, because I know you are kind of a shy person. So, like, what has that kind of been like to see so much fan like reaction to this?
It's been, well, like I said, it's strange. I'm not used to no one knowing me or anything about me. It's like, yeah, it's just, I don't know what to think of it. It's completely different to anything I've ever experienced ever. I mean, people might refer back to something I said while I'm at work or something, just for passing on information, but people that actually care what I say, it's kind of strange. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, totally agree. It's weird. That, like, when we first got our first piece of fan art, at least for me, it was just like, what? Like, we're just 4 guys making
I remember how
podcast.
much each one of us freaked out.
Yeah.
And now, and then that first couple episodes goes to show that.
Yeah. And then now we've got these freaking 40 submissions for an anniversary thing that we have to somehow get through. It's kind of crazy. Has it ever like made you feel really like? Has it ever made you feel like you wanted to like get away from it somehow because it was too much? Like, was it ever overwhelming?
No, not really. Quite the contrary. In fact, I'm better than people now. Like, yeah.
So that's that kind of experience. This kind of experience has really helped you.
Yeah, I guess it has. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said in my 5 minute thing, what turned out to be 3 minutes. Even not at even on the internet, on like work stuff as well. I tend to speak up a little more than I did a year ago, and I voiced my opinion more than I did a year ago. So that has helped being around here and have people actually listen and care what I have to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it has kind of changed you as a person.
Yeah.
It's good.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, I watched the Burned and Pinky Dash show, and Burned. I as much as I love all of your talking about art and stuff like that, it was like really one of the first times that I've seen Pinky Dash shine, and
It was awesome,
you
wasn't
were
it?
discussing art and
Bright
stuff.
like a diamond.
Yes,
It's
like a
magical.
diamond. And I mean, back in the very, very beginning of this podcast, both you and I think were kind of shy and didn't know anything about art and stuff. And
Kind of.
yeah,
My booty,
yeah.
kind of.
Yeah. And so, it kind of affected me as well. Not really speaking up on the podcast and stuff. And I know Rainbow Plasma kept pushing us. And, over these past few weeks, you've really kind of come out of your shell and shined in the podcast like a diamond.
Thank you.
Mm.
Like a diamond.
Yeah, there's definitely like an aspect of the way that like the stuff that you have to say always is always like I'll look back on podcasts and you don't say a lot, but like whenever you do say something, it's always like I want to hear more from you. So there's definitely like this aspect of like when you say stuff, people listen, and when you say stuff, people want to hear your opinion more. And so it's really nice to have an episode like that where you're almost like forced into that situation. Because
That's a little forced.
I'm sure our fans agree, but like everybody wants to hear more from you. People can get enough of the three of us. If we had an episode where it was just me and Burned, holy cow, out the window. Enough of that nonsense, right? Let's get the other guys back on the podcast. But you can carry yourself a lot better than you probably think you can.
It's just the accent.
The accent's the
People
best
hear the
part.
accent. That's all it is.
Yeah,
It's
but
true.
then apparently
It's
I have
true.
an accent, so why doesn't
You
that
do.
carry me?
Canada.
I know, eh?
No, it's like you do have an opinion, you do have knowledge, and you do like. I know that you're really like kind of shy or reserved, but it's like why would someone want to hear what I have to say? That's not the point, It's that regardless of whether or not that you think why we want to, we still do just because we do, just because you have a voice. It's like we want to hear that. So the episode that it was me and you, it was awesome just to like listen to you talk. When I didn't know you, when I didn't know that you were shy or Australian or whatever, you were just some guy on Reddit named Shallow and Pedantic, and you were, again, like, people keep saying like, oh, Burned, like it was really cool when you critiqued my stuff and like you got me into that or whatever. You were kind of that guy to force me into that position of wanting to critique people. You were someone I kind of looked up to and like as a challenge. And I was like, there's this guy and he could be better than me. Like, I want to be better than him.
I mean, could.
See, there you go. So it was this constant, it was like this battle of someone whom I respected just because you had things to say and you had like knowledge to share. And like you still do, even on the show. So it's like, I want you to talk more, and I wish you would talk more, because I do love when you open your beautiful Australian mouth.
I love your mouth too, bud. Oh, yeah. What?
So one thing that I did want to bring up, which is a bit weird, but I mean, can you just talk a little bit? It's more than just being Australian, but being from such a different time zone. I'm sure it's put a lot of stress on you, especially in like a podcast scenario where we all sit down once a week and record at the same time. Can you talk a little bit about how your time zone has kind of affected you?
Well, I guess if it would affect me if I actually worked a job where I didn't have to wake up so early, but because I work, I'm a tradesman, I work stupid hours, I have to wake up at sort of 5:30 in the morning anyway to go to work. So when we record the podcast on American Friday night, right, which is my Saturday morning, but we do it at 9 p.m. I think your guys' time.
5:30.
No. when I think we do it like 5 or 6 or
I
whatever.
do it at 2:30.
Okay, so it's like early evening, late
Yeah.
afternoon sort of time for you guys, but it's
Yeah.
really early in the morning for me. So we used to, I think we've delayed it recently by like an hour or so, but it used to be I have to get up at 5:30 on a Saturday morning and record this at sort of 6, 7, which, happy to say, doesn't happen so much anymore. I can normally just wake up. Like today, I sort of delayed because I didn't want to get up out of bed because it was warm. Because it's middle of winter for me right now. Yesterday was the longest night of the year.
Oh yeah, it's winter down there.
Yeah, that's so
That's
weird.
right.
Yeah, funny that.
See,
fact.
it's like all
It's
this
like
kind
the
of stuff.
opposite of you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even your weather's upside down.
I always forget that. I always forget the seasons change. Like that is because you're in the southern. You're not only so far west or east, depending on which way you look at it, but you're also like completely south too. So it
Yes.
changes all that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that I live in Australia means I have to fly halfway across the world to come and see you guys. But whatever. It's
Worth
happening.
it.
Good luck spending that money. We really like you, and we want to have you at Everfree Northwest, but not enough to pay. Not enough to pay for you. We don't make enough from this show to pay for you to come to Everfree.
Don't make anything from the show.
we don't make anything.
Yeah, no, we don't make anything.
We do for free. Dollar
We
bills,
get-
y'all.
We get horse points.
Yes.
Horse fandom
Horse?
points.
Yeah.
Horse points.
We need a battery fitting.
Can we redeem that for horse famousness?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's the point.
And the Uncanny Horse Valley.
Oh my
We get horse famous points, so we can
goodness.
unlock our horse famedom.
We get the horse points, and then we
Do we
head
get
down to the
achievements?
Uncanny Horse Valley to
Oh,
redeem
God.
our horse points for horse
Goods.
famousness.
Horse achievements.
Horse
Yes.
Excuse me?
So are you guys looking forward to the release of the X-Horse one?
Oh man, oh man.
Or the PS Horse?
PS horse.
Oh, jeez.
Oh man, you should do more puns.
Yeah,
That could be a way
I
to
love
get you in
puns.
the show more. Just start doing more puns.
So Punky Dash?
Oh man. And with that note, I'm gonna have to cut you off because we are 20 minutes over our time. Yep. Fantastic. So we're gonna wrap up now. Thanks again for being interviewed by us, and I mean, there's not really much we can say because we were all just interviewed. So who are we gonna thank here? I mean,
I would like to thank myself.
I would like to also thank Burned.
I'm not gonna thank Burn.
What is
I
it?
would like to thank Burns Pretty Myth.
Like, I always feel really self-censored, like, talking about myself, but I wouldn't be who I am today without you guys. So it's like, I have no one to thank but you guys. Self-center. Thank you very much.
I want to scratch your beard.
I want to rub my face in your hair.
So on the screen right now, you have 3 seconds. Look, we have DeviantArt, email, Twitter, Facebook. You've seen it all before, so go and check it. All right. Anyways, what were you saying about next week?
GeoCrusaders.deviantart.com.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yay. Stuff
right.
like that.
Cool.
Okay, so we have an episode next week, which is going to feature all of the lovely stuff that you guys sent in. Basically 1 year anniversary artwork and little snippets of audio and text. All of which we are so thankful to you guys for. And we're going to feature that all next week. So it's kind of our second part of our 1 year, even though it's 1 year
Right.
and a week.
This one was really self-centered. We just focused all of ourselves so we could get out of the way and focus on how awesome you guys are as fans. So if you wanted to send in stuff, too late because we're literally recording it right after this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're watching this episode and you think, oh, wait, I meant to send something in, it's a bit late.
Yeah,
Sorry, guys. It's already
we've
recorded.
already recorded both episodes by the time this airs.
Because we're not going to be near a computer next week.
Right.
Yeah, because we're going to visit Burn.
Yeah, we're all gonna visit Burns. So yeah,
I'm not.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're recording these in bulk so that we can have kind of a week off, which will be nice.
Yeah.
But that's basically it. We are way over time, and I'd like to shut this down so we can move on and get started on next week's episode. So, do you guys have anything else to say?
We love you.
Yeah. We love you all
Sweet. All right. Well,
so much.
Everybody sneak up behind Burned at Everfree Northwest and just yell value in his ear.
Don't do it.
okay. So, whether or not you're on the live stream or on YouTube, we love you all the same. My name is Rainbow Plasma.
I'm Burned01.
I'm Flutter Guy 317.
And I'm Punky Horse.
And we'll see you guys next week for our fan art episode.
Later, guys.
Bye, guys.